What's up, fellas? I'm Alessio Feet, my fan Steve Alicious here with a new old unboxing, a Compaq C-series 2010c from way back September of 1998. I bought this off of eBay 2 or 3 years ago, but I didn't want to unbox it unless it were on camera. Now, wasn't doing a lot with my channel at the time, so I figured I'd wait, but now I am. So here's the time. All I've done with this particular box is cut open the seal to look inside to make sure there weren't any batteries leaking all over the place from 20-something years ago that would ruin everything inside. So after that, closed it back up, put it in a corner, and forgot about it until today. Difference in this unboxing is, unlike the iPad unboxing, this one, the audio is going to be disconnected from the video. The video that I originally had with me unboxing it live, completely ruined. It looked like it sounded like someone was electrocuting the microphone. It was terrible. You wouldn't want to listen to it. So what I'm going to do is commentate over the actual video of the unboxing, because you can't unbox something twice, and there weren't any other ones brand new on eBay in 2020. Go figure. So let's introduce our helper for the day. Another character from Sumiko Garashi. You can see him up in the right-hand corner there. This is the lizard, who's actually a dinosaur, but he figures that being the final dinosaur might draw a little bit of attention, so he masquerades as a lizard to fly under the radar, because they all are kind of shy. So we thank him for his help. So we're going to talk about, in a minute, Palmtop PCs, because I think they were a goofy period in time for portable computing, where the Palm Pilots of the world and the handspring visors of the world, and then later the iPacs would become more viable. But in the meantime, you needed something with this particular form factor. The first thing I'm going to point out here in the lower right-hand corner, the first professional handheld PC. Well, my friend here, the HP 95LX, might have something to say about that, as well as his siblings, the 100LX and the 200LX. With DOS, with the programs you could put on cards that would be your full DOS suites of programs, I would argue that this device probably provides you more functionality pound for pound than the Windows CE device, but that would be up to some debate. But to call this the first professional handheld PC, I think is some claim, given there were extraordinarily successful devices with that form factor 10 years previous. I think it came out in 91, 92, something like that. We're going to be doing a full video on the 95LX as well here, by the way. So if you're new here, go ahead, give that subscribe button a tussle. That way you don't miss that video or any of the others. Thank you for the 70 subscribers. You guys are awesome. I was pointing out there how I was somewhat impressed by the 20 megabytes of RAM, expandable to 32. That for 1998, not half bad. Not a lot doing on the specs here. This is all the marketing stuff. It is a 640 by 240 VGA display, half VGA display. And right here I want to point out the V34Biz error correction on the 33.6 modem. The 90s were one hell of a time when it came to connectivity, and when you were advertising the error correction on some of these, it's amusing. It's amusing to me. I mean, I understand things were tough to use in the 70s and the 80s, but the 90s we'd had our own specialties, our own charm, and the error correction in the dial-up modems was one of those things. It's an overall nice package presentation that they give you. The stand, which we'll get to in a minute, which is actually the you'll see it in the icon, the thumbnail of the video. When you put it all together, it looks pretty decent on your desk. I'm going to include some pictures of that right here. Not bad looking. Not bad looking at all. And now we can get to the actual unboxing of the device. There was a surprise waiting for me in here when I finally got inside to it. But you do get quite a bit. When you bought it was $800 in 1998. So this is when you start to get into what was the market for this particular device. Because $800, granted, this was the time when a fully spec'd out business laptop was probably in the $2,500 range, $3,000 range, up to $5,000. So $800 for a device like this that you could use for some limited functionality might be a deal for you. But it's still, we're going to talk about Palmtops in a minute. This is the battery for the device, which was very goofy to put in. They really needed some help with that. I guess you're intended to read the manual or something like that, but the way you put the battery in was not intuitive whatsoever. Then you have your phone cord, which I did use later on. You'd need to use that special phone cord. And when you use it, you can sort of connect the stuff with Microsoft Terminal, and not really. So Microsoft Terminal was notorious for being bad with Windows in general, and the Windows CE version is just as bad. I tried to connect to various BBS services. We dialed them up. I got the dial-up modem working. In fact, the reason why I got this particular device is that it has a dial-up modem, the 336, built in. So like with the other devices, the HPs and stuff like that, you have to use a modem card, and finding drivers at this point for Windows CE or even DOS that's going to work with various cards, installing them, giant headache. So this device I got thinking, hey, I could just plug the modem cord in and go on my way. I later got an NEC Mobile Pro 900, which I think is the pinnacle of these particular Palmtops, which we'll do a review on as well. But I didn't have it at the time, so I got this device. You can see all the cool stuff. I like that you get all this stuff. You used to get a lot of stuff when you bought electronics. Hey, you're spending $800. Now they don't want to waste the paper. But you used to get the software CD with everything. Maybe you uploaded one or two of them and you didn't use the most of it. You didn't look at half of these books. You got warranty cards the size of your football. It was quite a lot of stuff. But that's what kind of made stuff exciting in the 90s. When you got an unboxing, it was an event. You spent X amount on this thing. You really want it to be worth it and really want to experience the whole thing. Now the Apple unboxings are pretty fairly nonplussing as far as what you get. So you got the microphone, then the notification buttons there, which are nice. The expandable RAM on the bottom there, a 1 PCMCIA Type 2 slot. That's where the battery compartment goes, that battery pack that you saw earlier. I'm showing the expandable RAM portion there, so you could add the other 12 megs of RAM if you needed it for whatever reason. There you can see the port that goes into the computer, your stylus there, power port on the side, your charging port. On the other side, the PCMCIA slot and the modem, you can see it tucked away there, and your IR port if you want to play games with your friends at 2 megabits an hour. Those IR ports to transfer anything were disasters. Now this is where I'm in for an awful surprise. When I opened it up, it just, I don't know if it's metal fatigue or plastic fatigue rather, and when I looked at it later, what I discovered was the right-hand side of the device, the right-hand part of the hinge, is responsible for just the ribbon cable of getting the information from the motherboard to the screen. The left-hand side is responsible for all the tension of the screen. And they did this a lot in the 90s, and you saw it on the Apple PowerBook 100 series, where you had that problem where if you put a metal screw or metal anything, support, inside of the plastic mold, eventually it just gave out. So even though this is brand new, never used, you still got the demo sticker on there, the plastic fatigue over the years just cracked right in half as soon as I did, and it was nothing to it. Keyboard, decent, little mushy. I do like the fact that they spaced out the keys on here so you could at least do some touch typing and feel like you're not mashing 7 different keys at one time. That is something that a lot of the Palmtops up until then, they had these mushed keyboards and you really had to sit there and fingertip type and hopefully hit each one as you went along. And not a lot else in the box except for the base, which I showed earlier. And I don't know if it'd be more of a decoration on your desk. If you're at your computer, maybe you're charging it on this. I do think it was neat that you could have the pen in there. They had a second pen that you saw we unboxed a little bit earlier that you put in there. That's not the stylus that's in the machine itself. You could kind of put the second pin in there, and it's kind of your fancy desk pen, perhaps your quill pen, something like that. You could dip it in ink and go ahead and write on the screen. But as it's very solid plastic, I like the fact that it's got the nice rubber feet. It's not going to slide anywhere. You've got the repeat of basically the dock, so you get another connector for your PC, and you have another charging port and your Kensington lock port there as well. If anyone wants to steal your very interesting Palmtop setup off of your desk. So you put it into the dock, and you actually push that button. It took me a second to figure it out, but you push that button to the right in, and that's how it connects. So instead of that being the eject, that's how you actually go ahead and connect it up. So I did eventually get that working. I got it to where I propped something out behind it, and I was able to work on it from there. And then the screen worked, and I was able to try to dial up things. But Windows CE, Palmtops, like we said, Palmtops in general, very interesting time. I mean, if you're lugging all that around, my thought is that you would get just as much functionality from either a Palm 7 at the time, a little bit later. I think I show in a few moments a handspring visor, but you had those great keyboards that went along with it. So you'd put in your handspring visor, you put in your Palm, even your Palm 7, you could get wireless connectivity with that. You could download your email, some simple web browsing, and you could get the keyboard that when you needed it, you took it with you. And when you didn't, you just left it home, or you left it in your briefcase or wherever you were. For my money, and for a lot less, so for about $300, you could get the handspring visor there, and the good keyboard with the scissor switches, so actually something you might want to write on, do some work on. You spend it what, another $100 at the time? On the handspring, I was showing the fact that you could get the springboard cartridges, that you could add mobile connectivity to it, you could add a modem to it, and I think get as much functionality as you'd want on the road. Because if you're needing to do all of that, aren't you maybe at that point just bringing a laptop? I mean, maybe it was a cost factor. Like I said, the high-end business laptops could be $5,000. This was $800. So maybe you're looking at it like, well, I could pound out a couple emails on the road. I can maybe work on my Excel spreadsheet, maybe edit a couple Word documents. But unless you're sitting at a desk doing that, or sitting down waiting for it to do it, it's an awkward form factor. You could almost get more done with one hand holding a Palm, and then your other hand with the stylus, then both hands, it has to be on your lap. You can't really operate those things one-handed, especially then you bring the stylus out and then you're trying to type. I'm fascinated by them. I collect them. I have the 360LX. I have the 95LX. I'm trying to find a good price on a 200LX. I looked at the Jornada devices in the past. I personally don't like Windows CE at all. Maybe if you do, leave a comment below, because I think you're in the minority if you do. But for my money, I would think back in the day, even if you bought the module, right? Even if you bought the module, they were $200. So for $500, you could have a complete setup that could get your email wirelessly, and you don't even have to you don't even have to plug it into the phone line if you don't want. You could get one of the wireless modems, and then you could get your email back and forth that way from your office if you need it. But there's still interesting tech. There's still interesting pieces from the past. Passive matrix display, which is always fun, but hey, it was the 90s. Screen technology was what it was. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, as I point and slam on the speaker of the device, have that Steve-alicious day.